Hello, beautiful soul family. Rebecca here, your vibe mentor, bringing you another video on how to raise your vibration so you can live your best life. Let's chat a little bit about the types of personalities that narcissists are drawn to. So, if you know me, you know my story. Maybe it's worth repeating for anybody who's just tuning in. So, I had grown up in a religious family. My father was a minister, and he also was a narcissist, which was really fun to combine the spiritual ego with the challenge of narcissistic personality disorder. So I'm just going to have to ask for your patience with any coughing in the background. I do have a sick child home today, so the life that I grew up with was very confusing. There was a lot of self doubt and just mass confusion is the best way to explain it. Not really understanding why the world was the way it was, and just having a knowing that there was something very wrong with the way I was experiencing the world. And of course, as a young child, you can't really understand what's going on. But at the same time, I knew that something was not quite right, that the way I was being treated was not right, and that the methods of parenting were not right. And I had this, and as I'm sure most of you can relate to, this yearning and this desire for something I couldn't quite understand. I was a seeker from a very young age. I remember being 2 years old and looking up at the stars and just feeling like there's got to be something more out there. And fast forward through all of my childhood, multiple times my mother left my father, which is very common for anyone trying to get out of a abusive relationship. In fact, the average time a person goes back to an abusive relationship is 5 to 7 times before they fully get out. So we had that sort of back and forth experience as children of moving in, moving out, moving in, moving out. And then, of course, I proceeded in my later years to have relationships, not significant relationships with not one, but two narcissists. And so this has been very prevalent in my life until I finally woke up to boundaries and interdependent relationships and what real love looks like and what love bombing is, and all of that. So if you're not familiar with narcissism, hang tight. I will do a video on what that looks like and how to identify it. But for today, I wanted to focus on the types of people that narcissists target. And so when a narcissist grows up, and often many of our illnesses here in this society today are developed through inappropriate child rearing, that we didn't feel safe, seen, heard, cared for, or loved as a child. And depending on the level or extent of the abuse, it is typically directly correlated to the level of mental challenge that we have to deal with. And if some of us are lucky, we can escape with enough of us intact to be able to heal and to recuperate. But unfortunately, some people are not self-aware enough or not willing to have the self-reflection enough to be able to heal. And oftentimes narcissists are said to be incurable. I personally believe that, the divine is capable of anything he, she, it, they, them puts his mind to, so nothing is out of the realm of possibility. But yet I will not suggest to anyone, any viewer, that you try to fix a narcissist, because unless they are fixing themselves, they are unfixable. So again, staying focused on the type of people. And I found this to be very interesting because conscientiousness is one of the most common characteristics that connects all victims of narcissistic abuse. And so what I found very fascinating is, as I run through this list of what does conscientiousness look like, you will see that not only does this describe the victims of narcissistic abuse, which of course I never am a proponent of calling yourself a victim, because we want to exit the victim triangle. It is possible. I will link that video here. But the characteristics that commonly connect those of us who have experienced narcissistic abuse are also very similar to the characteristics that the narcissist lacks. And so the benefit of conscientiousness is twofold. Say that word 10 times. Is twofold. One, we fill the holes, the gaps for the characteristics that they do not have, but it also makes us feel guilt and shame when we are not able to do these things with the narcissist. So I will also have to do a video on vampires and crazy making and all of these fun things that go along with narcissism. But essentially, the narcissist needs you to be able to feel good about themselves. They need you to fill these gaps and holes for them. Because they're unwilling to face themselves, it's too much pain, or it's a conscious decision, whatever the case may be. They're not going to ever be able to accomplish any of these things unless they address them on their own. Now, I will also say that I am very careful not to condemn anyone. This, of course, is very rarely diagnosed because it is so difficult to pinpoint. And there is a spectrum of narcissism. In fact, if you look at our society collectively today, many people have narcissistic behaviors. So, again, this is more so about understanding those who have experienced it, how we need to heal, how we need to watch out for it going forward. It is not about condemning anyone or pointing fingers. Okay, so let's get into it. What is conscientiousness? So conscientiousness is a personality trait that typically makes us more vulnerable, which is very surprising because we actually are very deliberate, self-disciplined, achievement or goal-oriented. We're dependable, reliable, consistent, organized, efficient. We accept ourselves. We have strong self-acceptance. We're motivated to avoid failure. We value simplicity over chaos. We are methodical to increase functionality in relationships. So oftentimes what that will look like is not leaving soon enough, feeling that we can somehow resolve the problem or fix the problem, which is great when it comes to business or to parenting or to other goals in life. But unfortunately, when you're in a relationship with a person who won't fix themselves, you can never fix them. And if they're refusing to see their behaviors, then you're not going to be able to fix the relationship, right? So taking ownership over your life, right? Taking responsibility for everything that you experience and everything that you create, right? Good moral compass, not very impulsive. Overly confident or taking in our ability to make change. Again, that kind of references what I was mentioning earlier about increasing the functionality of the relationship. We take on the responsibility for solving these problems. And then we may have a generally good self-esteem, or at least a cognitive prefrontal cortex level of self-esteem, right? A knowing that we are deserving, even though we may still be dealing with that complex trauma that often can make us feel unworthy. And these are the conundrums of the dualistic world we live in. So when you look at these things, you can see that narcissists are often very chaotic, very disorganized, very time irresponsible, whether it's not on time or wasting your time or not being respectful of your time, things of that nature. They're often very unreliable, very inconsistent, very disorganized, very inefficient, again, tying into the time. They do not accept who they are or their true faults or their true strengths or the reasons they may need to change or the things they may need to address. Very unwilling to see the solution, whereas a conscientious person is solution focused. You cannot be solution focused if you're trying to deny and block out the things that you need to deny and block out to remain as you are and avoid the pain of having to heal, right? They tend to be they often are in, I don't want to say they often fail, but they're disorganized. The chaos in their life will catch up with them. And it's kind of always a day late and a dollar short, always one step behind kind of thing, because they're trying, every ounce of their energy goes to manage and keep things together because they're unwilling to address the things that would allow them to free up their energy and tap into Source Creator's energy, right? Very dysfunctional relationships, obviously. Not taking ownership over their life, no good moral compass, no willingness to do the right thing, especially when it prevents them from meeting their own selfish gain. Very, very impulsive. Interesting to say, overly confident or also very insecure, but yet put on a front to hide the lack of confidence, right? And then their self-esteem and their self-confidence again kind of goes hand in hand with that. Whether or not they come across as overly confident and are insecure, it's just a fragile ego would be the best way to say that, right? It's very strong egoic tendencies, but very, very fragile and can be knocked down. They tend to get very defensive very quickly. So that is sort of the two polar extremes of conscientiousness and the people who draw those who need it in. So would love to hear from you. Do you resonate with this? Do you have these conscientiousness characteristics, or have you seen the inverse in the relationships that you've experienced and recognized how people sort of are drawn to you because of that? And because we are not able to be deliberate, to be organized, to be efficient, things of that nature, it actually ends up making you feel guilt and shame, which of course decreases your confidence and increases the likeliness that you would stay in an unhealthy relationship. So let me know if this helps, if you find this valuable, if you'd like to see more of this kind of content. Just drop me a comment below. Otherwise, definitely do subscribe to be notified of the next videos that come out, and check out the next video to continue your learning. All right, take care. Namaste, my friends.